first Rashi in parshyos Behar, the first pasuk in parshyos Behar. Veidaber Hashem al Moshe bar Sinai leimar, that the Eibusha spoke to Moshe by Har Sinai. And then, oh, thank you so much. Baruch atah and the mitzvah of Shemitah. First pasuk. So the first Rashi brings the two words of Har Sinai. Rashi asks, "Ma'in Shemitah etzel Har Sinai?" It's like, whenever someone says something that doesn't make sense, you say, Ma'in Shemitah etzel Har Sinai. Two things that don't go together. Ma'in Shemitah etzel Har Sinai. What are you putting together, Shemitah and Har Sinai? What's the connection of Shemitah and Har Sinai? Like all the mitzvahs now in Sinai. All the mitzvahs are said by Sinai. So why is it that here it says Behar Sinai? The answer is Amash Mitanamer Klosa. Amen. Klosa Upretsa Vidik to Kab Sinai Kolan Namer Kolosain Vidik to Kaim missing. Just like this one mitzvah Shemitah, the klal, the general thing, and also the details, everything was from the Sinai. The same thing from here, we learned all of the mitzvahs that you shouldn't say only the general things were said by Sinai, but the details were not. In other words, we already know from parshyos Mishpatim, Rashi said that everything was from Har Sinai. All the Torah mitzvahs comes from Har Sinai. Okay, but one might say that the klalus, just the general, the Eibusha told Moshe Rabbeinu, the general outline, and over the 40 years, he filled them in with a couple of details and more of the details. No, not true. All and everything, the klal and the prat, was given b'Sinai. Kach shnui b'Torah's kohanim. These words are in Torah's kohanim. V'nideli, Rashi says, it seems to me, shekach pirushay, this is going to be the pshat. What's the pshat? Rashi explains. Whenever I learn this Rashi every year, I think to myself, what is Rashi saying, Nilekach pirushay? I thought I understood everything. See,
there's a question over here that even though I answered is a question that you don't understand.
If Rashi has to explain, and there's more words Rashi in the explanation than the original Torah's Kohanim, you know that there's a little bit of trouble brewing here. So Rashi explains, what's the pshat? If you learn the story of Arvas Moav, which is in Mishnah Torah, and they're standing in the plains of Moav, and Moshe Rabbeinu gives them the Mishnah Torah, repeats the whole Torah. He repeats everything. We don't need to say a word about Shemitah. So you wonder what's going on. So it's obvious from there. So it's obvious that when it came to Shemitah, at least everything was said by Sinai, because at the Arvas Moav nothing was said. So there was only said by Sinai. So it must be that everything was given by Sinai. It's simple, right? So Bo'akosed v'limit kan. So the Eibusha said, I'm going to add two words here in the pasuk Behar Sinai, even though it's obvious already. I know already. It says it's obvious that this was Behar Sinai, but the Torah adds these two words. I'll call dibur shenadaber laMoshe limet kam, to teach you. I'll call dibur shenadaber laMoshe, for everything that was spoken to Moshe. Shemesino hu kulam kulasayim v'duktukim, that at Sinai there was not only the cloud but also the dikdukim, not only the general thing of the mitzvah but also all the details. V'chozru v'nishna b'arvas Moav, however, they were said a second time by Arvas Moav. Can always learn this Rashi is like there's a whole calculation. It's like this and like this. You can't always learn the easy Rashi. Sometimes you got to figure out the tough Rashis too. I mean, it seems like a simple Torah's Kohanim. Rashi makes the sometimes you say let's make the long story short, and sometimes you say let's make the short story long. It seems like a simple Torah's Kohanim. It seems like a simple Kohanis Kohanim. So what is Rashi explaining? So the Mefarshim will say that basically Rashi has a question here, and the question is the same like Torah's Kohanim. why does we have to say Behar Sinai? It's obviously everything was by Har Sinai. It's obvious. All 613 mitzvahs are Mount Sinai. So why does the Torah say single out one mitzvah? That's what the Mefarshim say. And that's the question. What's the answer? The answer is there is a machloikis, and we find in many places in Shas, Chagig and Gemara Soita, and Gemara Sanhedrin, that there's a machloikis how the Torah was given. Everyone agrees, Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva both agree that the general thing was given at Sinai. But there is a machloikis. Rabbi Akiva says, Klolos uprotus, and then Behar Sinai. Everything was at Mount Sinai, says Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Shmuel says, no, not true. Klolos, the general thing was at Sinai. Protus, the details, was Bo'el Moyed. 40 years they were in the desert. 40 years God spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu Meben Shnei HaKruvim, from the 2 Kruvim. So over the 40 years, the Eibishter filled in the details. The Klolos was in the 40 days of Har Sinai. Oh, it's a big machloikis. It's back and forth of 3 places. Some of the Tanaim look like this and some like this, and has to do with how this was the korban. They said, how did they know how to do the details of this and that? It's a big machloikis in Shas.
In some branches of Judaism, there are a few thousand murders.
Some branches So they say, okay, so basically the Torah is kind of Rashi, you're coming down to the side of Rebbe Akiva. That everything was at Har Sinai. That's what they say. Problem is not. It doesn't make sense if you look closely at Rashi that that's the Rashi's question or Rashi's answer. If Rashi was really bothered, why does it say by Shemitah, the Har Sinai? So why does he quote just the word Har Sinai? The problem is not the word Har Sinai. The problem is why it's by the mitzvah of Shemitah. It's all 613 mitzvahs were said by Sinai. So he should quote the word Shemitah. Why is it relevant to Shemitah? And that's in the question. Well, it's a small question, but the knocker here is, so what Rashi says, and he repeats himself several times, that everything was only repeated by Arvas Moyev. When they in the Mishnah Torah by Arvas Moyev, that wasn't the machloikis of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Who was talking about Arvas Moyev? If you look in every place in Shas where there was a machloikis, a chagig, and Seit, and Zvachim, Rabbi Akiva said everything was at Sinai. Everything, the klal and the prat, everything was at Sinai. Rabbi Shmuel says no. General thing was 40 days in Sinai. And over the rest of the 40 years from Oyel Moed, the Eibishter gave all the details. Who was talking about Arvas Moyev? Where did Rashi come up with this new thing about Arvas Moyev? The machloikis was that Rabbi Akiva said in the 40 days they got everything, klal and prat. Good. Shmuel says I agree. 40 days they got the klal, the prat over the 40 years. But Rashi comes along and said, we didn't find. Who's talking about Arvas Moyev over here? What did Rashi keeps on saying? Once and twice and 3 times. But who's talking about Arvas Moyev? We're not talking about that. And what's strange in Rashi is that Rashi never comes to give a pshat in the Torah's koinem. Rashi, I'm going to give you a pshat in the Torah's koinem.
What's the question?
Should I expect this one? Rashi is going to give me a Shudas Torah? Soon he's going to give me a Shena Vorts from the Ishbitzer? Rashi doesn't usually give pshat in Torah's koinem. He's giving the pshat in the pasuk. And all of a sudden, Rashi quotes a Torah's koinem verbatim and then says, "Oh, let me give you the pshat in the Torah's koinem." It's like strange.
Why'd you say the Ishbitz?
It's nice wörtlich, very sharp. He was a big bal nigla. That's why.
That's good.
Yeah. So the Rebbe says, if you look, there's a lot of little diukim. And one diuk that really, if you look closely and you comb, the Rebbe's mahalach always is to comb through the words. And the first time that Rashi mentions Har Sinai, he quotes the word in the pasuk Har Sinai, and then he quotes the question of the Mayin Shmitza Har Sinai. After that, Rashi says at least 8 times, 7, 8 times the word Misinai. It doesn't say Har Sinai. Look at the first line. Mayin Shmitza Har Sinai. Misinai. Misinai. Everything from there on, everything is Misinai, but not Har Sinai. Why? So here's the Rebbe's vort. You know that Rashi usually doesn't tell you the question. If Rashi has a question, he doesn't tell it to you. He assumes that the child already, the 5-year-old, picked up his hand and said, Rabbi, I have a question. If Rashi is saying a question, he's answering the question with a question. This is not really the question. If Rashi brings a question, usually that's not the question. What's Rashi's question? He quotes usually you have to be very medaic in the words that Rashi quotes. That's his question. It says, Har Sinai. Just the words Har Sinai is a big problem. Any child would pick up his hand. Rabbi, what's going on? What's the kasha? The kasha is very simple. And the Eden came out of Mitzrayim. The Eibusha gave him the Torah. Moshe was in the mountain 40 days. Then they built the Mishkan. After they built the Mishkan, it's the Rashi says clearly in Parshyos Kisisa that from from when they built the Mishkan, the Eibusha spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu only from the Oil Moed, never any place else. Before the building of the Mishkan, it was different. But from when I built the Mishkan, indeed, when you start first pasuk, right in the very, very, very beginning of Vayikra, so what does the Eibush to say? Vayikra el Moshe ve'yedaber Hashem Elov mei oyel moyed leimar. So from Parshas Vayikra, everything is, all the messages are coming from the Kruvim, from the Oyel Moyed. Parshas Vayikra, Tzav, Shmini, Tasliya, Metzoira, Achne Mois, Kedoshim, Emor. The boy is saying, I understand. This is all from the Kruvim. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, a new Parsha, Behar Sinai. Wait a minute. They built the Mishkan, and Rashi says from when they built the Mishkan, the Eibusha speaks only from the Mishkan, only mibein shnei hakruvim. And we just started Parshas Vayikra. It says, Vayedaber Hashem Elav me'oyel moyed leimar. Vayikra tzav shmini tazriyah metzoira. Everything is going good. All of a sudden, a red herring. What's going on? That's the Shaila, and that's what Rashi is quoting. He just quotes the two words, Har Sinai. That's what's bothering Rashi, Har Sinai. And the truth is that one answer you might immediately say, in Torah you don't know what's first and what's next. Mm-hmm. And in Halacha, that's a very important rule. And perhaps in the last book, in Devarim, it's not that way. Over there, you Torah Smuchim, but the first book for. But in Pshat, and the truth is, even as it says it here, but in Pshat, according to Rashi, and we went through this once, the Rebbe has this thing, if I have no choice, there's certain answers I'm going to say if I have no choice. I have no choice. You push me to, I can't have no, so okay, but that's not the first answer I'm going to try to give. I'm always going to try to figure out that it makes sense. In Pshat, why shouldn't it make sense? If you have two ways of learning it, one is makes sense, and the other one doesn't make sense. You learn the way it makes sense. Why shouldn't Pshat make sense? Pshat should make sense. Halacha is different. You want to learn Halacha, who says, how do you know? You think you know the sense, or you might not know. Who do you think? But in Pshat, that's not the way. We try to learn, in the Rashi's Mahalach, the Rebbe proves it in many places, that he, even though Chazal say on that Parsha, Muktim, Rashi says, no, there's a Pshat, that Rashi, because he tries to find the Pshat. Why should you jump right away and say, Muktim Ucher? And Rashi tries to find the Pshat. There is another Pshat here that Ramban has a very big Ramban here, shlogs up Rashi, and he says, well, Moshe Rabbeinu heard this command at Mount Sinai. But for whatever reason, he didn't end up telling it to them till now. Well, that's a long time. If maybe not that, maybe a year. So you have to have a whole cheshbon of how long. But it was a long time. We know, Rashi already told us, that when Moshe Rabbeinu did fail to tell them about the mitzvah Shabbos with the mun, 1 or 2 days, that he got punished for that. Because he's supposed to tell them right away. Why would he not tell it to them right away? He said Rashi wouldn't go for such a teretz. So therefore Rashi comes up with a totally new teretz. Brilliant teretz. And when he quotes the Kodesh Tainim, you understand what he's saying. But before we go into it, teretz is very simple. 1 second. Har Sinai doesn't necessarily mean the mountain of Sinai. In the question he says, Manya Shmitzel Har Sinai. He quotes the Teres Kohanim. But who says that Har Sinai means the mountain? Har Sinai could also be the desert of Sinai. They camped out at the desert. They were there close to 2 years. After the 40 days, there was another 40 days, and there was another 40 days, and then they built a Mishkan, and then there was Hakomas a Mishkan, and then the Eibusha spoke to... They were there for a while. They were there for over a year, till they finally traveled away from Midbar Sinai. So Rashi holds that when it says over here, Vayidabah Shema Moshe Behar Sinai, it doesn't mean in the 40 days of Har Sinai. It doesn't mean the 40 days of Har Sinai. It means it was from the oil moyed. It was from the oil moyed. The Eibusha spoke through the two kruvim. Yeah. But it was when they were still Behar Sinai, when they were still camping at the foot of Har Sinai. So therefore it's not a kasha. And therefore we realize that the Rashi never got involved in the machlokas of Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael. If everything was said in the 40 days, or like Rabbi Shmuel, that some of the things were said that the klal was said in the 40 days, and all the details in the 40 years. And Rashi didn't get involved in this machloikas. He never involved himself in this. And he didn't. He didn't. He just said something else. He said that Arvis Moyov, when he repeats everything by Arvis Moyov, after the 40 years are finished, they're in Arvis Moyov. So over there, we find that there is no mention of the mitzvah Shemitah. So therefore Rashi has a pshat out of this.
In all the Sifat Devarim, there's no mention of
Yeah, right, according to Rashi. There's a mention of Shemitah. Rashi holds that Shemitah is something else, but not the Shemitah. So that's why Rashi brings the Torah's Kohanim. Why does Rashi bring the Torah's Kohanim and give a pshat to the Torah's Kohanim? Because all the Meforshim, they think that the Torah's Kohanim came to say, is the halacha like Rabbi Shmuel, halacha is like Rabbi Akiva. And Rashi holds that the Torah's Kohanim never got involved. There's a machlokes Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says everything was in the 40 days. Rabbi Shmuel says no, the general thing was in the 40 days, and the details over the 40 years. Nice, it's a machlokes. Rashi holds the Torah's Kohanim never got involved in this machlokes. And Rashi explains kach pirusha. Rashi has it's a little, you have to hold cup, but Rashi explains himself. He says like this. If you'll say that Har Sinai means only at the mountain on the 40 days, not for the whole 2 years that the Jews were camping out there. So when the Kodesh Kohanim says that the words Har Sinai are extra, why do you have to tell me Har Sinai? They're extra. Why are they extra? Why are they extra? The Eibusha wants to tell you it was said in the 40 days. That's why Rashi says, no, Har Sinai doesn't mean only Har Sinai. It means Har Sinai, Midbar Sinai. It makes no difference. And therefore, the fact that the Eibusha told the mitzvah of Shemitah by Midbar Sinai is obvious, because in Arvis Moyev it was never mentioned. So where was it said? Obviously it was said in the Midbar, Sinai. So therefore, when the Pasuk says Har Sinai, it's an extra words and it's a chidush. But that's only the way that Rashi learns. Rashi learns that there is no, that when it says Har Sinai, it doesn't mean mamish in the 40 days when Moshe was on the mountain. So therefore, Rashi says, so from the Torah's Kohanim, so that now I understand the Torah's Kohanim. Based on my pshat, I understand. Of course, the Torah never mentions a word about Shemitah and Arvis Moyav, so I have to assume it was said before Arvis Moyav. So why does the Torah have to tell it to me? Why does the Torah? So the Torah is telling me to teach me from a special limud that all the mitzvahs was said before Arvis Moyav, and that Arvis Moyav was only a chazorah, one big chazorah that repeated themselves. But not that Rashi holds it never got involved in this machlokes Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Akiva. If it was said like the Rabbi Akiva holds everything was said in the 40 days, Rabbi Shmuel says not. Rashi never involved himself in that machlokes. So the bottom line is that Rashi has a problem from the words Har Sinai. Again, Har Sinai means it was said in the 40 days of Har Sinai. If that's true, so what happened? Why is the part of parshyos Behar here? Parshyos Behar should be before Vayikra. From Vayikra, everything was said from Har Sinai. Everything was said from the Kruvim. Parshyos Vayikra, Tzav, Shmini, Tazriya, Metzora, Achremois, Kedoshim, Emer, everything was said from the Kruvim. The Eibishter, like again, Rashi says in Parshyos Gesisa, from when they built the Mishkan, the Eibishter never spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu from any place but the Kodesh HaKadoshim from the Kruvim. So the Shaila is what happened all of a sudden now that after the end of Parshyos Emer, the Rebbeinu Shalom changed his mind. He said, oh, you Moshe, we could come back to the mountain for another few minutes. I gotta talk to you about something. Doesn't make sense. That's not what happened. Therefore Rashi learns that no, Har Sinai doesn't only mean the 40 days in the mountain. It means all the time the Jews camped out by the Sinai. And he brings a raya. That's why he brings a whole Torah's Kohanim and gives a pshat in the Torah's Kohanim to substantiate a raya for his pshat, to answer his kasha.
I'm not asking a kasha, I'm just saying, now all the other things for Achrei Mos were Negeya, all these things till now. Shemitah, how's it Negeya in the Midbar? Why can't Moshe's not going to be punished? He's going to teach it weiter later on. These things are Negeya Tzeiras right now. Let me teach you a lesson of what's going to be Shemitah. We're not in Eretz Yisrael yet.
It wasn't like you were talking about that there was not enough time, it's in one day. We're talking after the parsha of Lechem Aponim and the Mekalel, and the Rashi and all the Meforshim talk about Mekalel when it was. Okay. It was far off after Matan Torah. It was very far away from Matan Torah.
But even if you say
so, there was a lot of days he could have said it.
Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't like,
but even if
it was priority to prioritize, and it was the day after Yom Kippur, and Moshe had only a couple of hours. We're talking. This is a long time after he came down.
I understand what you're saying with that. There's some other things which couldn't. It's a long time, but even so, in 40 days, Moshe can't just say everything. We're talking Moshe went up for 40 days over there. Even if he got everything, he has to explain everything. Everyone has to be moida, even if it was 40 days. It takes the entire days to go and explain everything and say over everything. You can't just take one day.
So why does the Torah record it in such a modern veg? So why doesn't the Torah? The Torah tells me everything, and I assume everything is said me oyel moyed. So what all of a sudden is Behar Sinai? What's the geshen?
Right.
So Rashi says Behar Sinai really means not in the 40 days. It means when the Yidden were Midbar Sinai. And it's just coming to teach you me to the Dekra, because it's obvious that it was said Behar Sinai. Right. Midbar Sinai, because it was never repeated later in the Chazorah. But the Torah wants to give you a limud. From here you will know that the Torah was all given already before Arvas Moyev. And Arvas Moyev was just a Chazorah.
And so why does the pasuk use the word har? What's that? I'm asking this question.
Because it's a Yitura Dekra. It's extra words. These two words, Har Sinai, the diuk is not on Har. It's on the Indian of Sinai.
I'm just asking why it says Har. I missed them. Maybe you said it.
I shouldn't answer
that.
that.
Because a lot of places it says B'midbar Sinai. In other places in Torah.
Right. So Rashi doesn't answer that. And because I guess Rashi feels him shat. Nish gefährlich. You could say Har Sinai and you mean Midbar Sinai. Midrash, you could say no, you need a little more for this. You have to explain yourself. But Pshat, Rashi brings a raya that Har Sinai and Midbar Sinai is the Zol Bazach. What's when you go and you look at this Machloikas Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Akiva? So who's Rabbi Shmuel and who's Rabbi Akiva? The Rebbe Shitta was always that you have to examine the person and the name to understand their Shitta. Rabbi Shmuel, so in the Kabbalah, and a lot of this, he's called Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, even though he probably never lived in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. He was redeemed by the mayor. He found him over there as in Rome, a captured child. His Zayda was Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol. He was a contemporary of Akiva, who lived in the time of Bar Kochva, which is how long after the Churban? A long time after the Churban, right? About 100 years after the Churban. Yeah, so Rabbi Shmuel, his grandfather was a Kohen Gadol, and a lot of times they refer to Rabbi Shmuel, the Bar Plukta of Rabbi Akiva, they call him Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol. Why is he called Kohen Gadol? Because he was a big tzaddik. He was, the Chazal tells so many stories about his tzidkes, and one of the stories of Chassidus is the Chassidus talks about the story a lot. There was a ma'aseh about the mechab there was a man. The parents organized a shidduch for him, a besho. They made a shidduch for him. The father, the kala, the parents of the kala, the parents of the chosn, they got together, they broke a plate. Boychik, there's your kala. He said, what? She? Amiyasa. He ran out. She's ugly. He doesn't want to marry her.
Happened?
Yeah, it's a story. So it became a tumult. He does it. She's insulted and she's crying and he's screaming and families are falling apart. So they came. The families came to the Bishmael. So the Bishmael said, he called the boy. He said, "Look, take it easy. Give me a month. Come back to me in a month. I got to think about this. It's a very serious thing." So boy went home. Then he called the family of the girl. I said, "Please, the girl has to come live in my house a little bit. Then we're going to figure out what we're going to do." He went to the Rebbitzin, to the wife of Ishmael, and he said, "Please take care good of this girl." Right away, she started to feed her. Today in America, if you want to take care, you want to become a chosn, you're looking for a shidduch, a kala, you start taking a diet. But then, unfortunately, it was the opposite. To make a good shidduch, you have to start eating a little bit, not to be a stick. So, my grandmother was sitting shiva for her brother. Her brother was a wonderful person, and he was from the founders of Kfar Chabad, and he was from the founders of now Lubavitch community in the Shuafat, Ramat Shloime. It was a big macher. He put up the 770 and the mikveh. A wonderful fellow. So we went tonight to Menachemova, my grandmother. She was talking about her family and before they left Russia and they lived in Tashkent. She said that they said she's never going to be a kala. She was so skinny. She was sick because the atmosphere in Tashkent and the lifestyle in Tashkent was not, they lived in these old Uzbek houses with no floor. They would put water on the sand to keep the sand down, and the water would come down from the mountains through the city. People did what they needed to do, and the behemoths and the people would drink it. So it was, and they were so poor. She said, I was so uzgedart that my mother didn't think of it. They tried to feed me. She was on a kala. Give me a kala. Give me a kala. Uzgedart. And she said, Anash, they had a chasna. So when they had a wedding, who had a ring? So all the Lubavitch had one ring. They went from chosin to chosin. I said, did you have it for the whole Sheva Brachas at least? She said, I don't remember, but I know afterwards I had to give the ring back. And she said that my wedding dress, my mother found some Uzbek selling some old dress for pittance. So that was my wedding dress. So that Bishmael said to his wife that the vice is this medal, that was the problem. You feed her and take good care of her, and then take care of her body as to soft, the oils, to make yeah, that's exactly like Esther. Take care of her body that the beauty should come out. That's what his wife did. After the month was off, the boy came back. And the girl was sitting in the house of Rabbi Shmuel, and he said, did you see this girl? Is she beautiful? He says, gorgeous. Who is she? He said, this is the girl that you rejected. If you'd known how pretty she is, would you make such a neder? He said, no way. It's gorgeous. So they matter neder, and they got married. And Rabbi Shmuel cried. He said, that really the Jewish girls are gorgeous, but the aniyos, their poverty makes them look not beautiful. So Chassidus says that Rabbi Shmuel, why was he crying so much? He was talking about the neshama. Every Jewish neshama is so beautiful, but the Azoy and Golos, and we get shmutzik, we get dirt glued onto us from all sides, but really every Yid is gorgeous. Every Yid is every Yid is beautiful. So that's Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel sees every Yid like a tzaddik. His vantage point is a tzaddik. Rabbi Shmuel was a perfect tzaddik. The Gemara says in Menachos that his nephew asked him, "Can I learn Chochmah Yavonis? Can I learn
Philosophy.
you know, yeah, it's secular stuff. He said, yes, yes. Find the time which is not day and not night, and that's when you learn Chochma Yevonis.
That's twilight.
But that's twilight according to one opinion. Suffolk Yom, Suffolk Laila. But there has to be Eine Lo Yom V'Lo Laila, not Suffolk Yom and Suffolk Laila. So he was a tzaddik. Rabbi Shmuel was a tzaddik. He was from the Aruge Malchus, according to many opinions. His big bar plukte. He was the Vei Rabbi Shmuel and Tone the Vei Rabbi Akiva. There were two big yeshivas. There was the yeshiva Rabbi Shmuel and the yeshiva Rabbi Akiva. What was Rabbi Akiva? We know who Rabbi Akiva. Akiva is family of Gadim. And Rabbi Akiva was Amoritz. Rabbi Akiva, according to one opinion, till 40 years old, he didn't know Aleph Beis. According to the Gemara, Braisa, Chazal, Medrashim, that he worked by Kalba Savua, and then the daughter Rachel liked him, but she married. The father kicked him out of the house. He went to learn Torah. V'chulu v'chulu. This is connected to the days of Sfidas Omer. And then he came back home after 24 years with 24,000 students. Talmidei Rabbi Akiva. So, Zok the Rebbe, that Rabbi Shmuel is a tzaddik. Rabbi Akiva is about tshuva. It's about tshuva. Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel had a totally different view in life, because the Rabbi Shmuel came from the vantage point of a tzaddik. Rabbi Shmuel was a tzaddik. Rabbi Akiva was about tshuva. So therefore, they saw everything very differently. Avodas tzaddikim is different than avodas about tshuva. We find that Rabbi Akiva said when they were killing him, they said, Rabbi, like, you know, you seem to be so happy about all this. So he said, yeah, Kol Yoma Yisimitztar Marsov Liyodav Kemeno. That his whole life he had a thirst to have Mesiras Nefesh. So why? Because a tzaddik is not that way. Tzaddik, it says in Tanya, tzaddik in the beginning of the word day, he says Shema. Shema is the idea of Shema is Mesiras Nefesh. He says Moiseh himself to the Eibishter, but the rest of the day, that's the foundation of the day. But the rest of the day is not Mesiras Nefesh. The rest of the day there's Avodas Hashem, not Mesiras Nefesh. Tzaddik that's his avodah, but Baal Tshuva is the whole day Mesiras Nefesh. That's the difference between Oyel Moed and Sinai. What's Oyel Moed? The Frierdiker Rebbe says that by the big Chassidim, the Ramah wrote a sefer called Torah Oyla. In the Beis Medrash, in every sichos of Beis Medrash, you'll find the Torah Hachatos. It's all Pulpulim and this is the Heter. But Torah Oyla, by Chabad Chassidim, that sefer was very, very important. Torah Oyla, the Ramah goes through how the Mishkan is you're going into holy, and the Yid goes in from the holy to the holy of holiest, and Avodas Hashem. How in the heaven there is the Seder Ishtalshlus, that the Mishkan was built like the Kegavna D'Liela, like in heaven, like the heavenly worlds, and you go from a lower level to a higher level to a higher level, and every Keli in the Beis HaMikdash is merames for another thing in heaven, in the Seder Ishtalshlus. So Chassidim was very important to them, the Sefer of the Torah Oyla of the Ramah. So that's Oyel Moed. What's Sinai? Sinai is the place where the Yidden, it says, I'll call Dibur Porchen Neshmasen. Everything the Eibishter said, the Neshama of the Yidden went out. Mesiras Nefesh. They died. So, they died, I understand. Lo Tignav. Why did they die for Lo Tignav? What was that all about? It didn't make a difference. Everything they heard from the Eibishter was like, wow, Mesiras Nefesh, that's it. So the Neshama jumped up, everything they heard from them, it didn't matter what they heard. Didn't matter what they heard. Everything was Mesiras Nefesh. That's the difference between Oyel Moed and Sinai. Oyel Moed is like the Avodah Hashem of Tzaddikim. Who does the Avodah on behalf of Klal Yisrael and the Oyel Moed? The Kohanim, especially the Kohen Gadol, they're the Tzaddikim. But Har Sinai, that's where Yidden are Balei Tshuva. That's the Avodah Hashem of Mesiras Nefesh. So therefore, Therefore, there's two opinions. Rabbi Yishmael says the klolus of all the mitzvahs, the foundation of everything is Mesiras Nefesh, like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya. Foundation of every mitzvah is Mesiras Nefesh. That I give myself up to the Eibishter. That's why the Alter Rebbe says if a Yid has an Esoyin, the Yid has to visualize that this thing, if Chas v'Shalom I do against the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm separating myself from the Eibishter. And if I had a choice, that every Yid would go on Mesiras Nefesh. So why am I allowing myself to be separate from the Eibishter? From the foundation of every mitzvah and to withstand every Nisayon is Mesiras Nefesh. But that's the foundation. But the rest of the day is Avodas Hashem, not just Mesiras Nefesh. So the foundation is Besinai, Mesiras Nefesh. The rest of the Avodas Hashem, the Protim, that's Oyel Moyed. That's in the levels in Kedusha, Kodesh, Kodesh HaKadoshim, Yatzilus, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. There is Caleb on the base of Mikdash. That's not Mesiras Nefesh. But Rabbi Akiva disagrees. Rabbi Akiva says, no. Kol Yomai, my whole life, that was one thing. Everything to Rabbi Akiva was Mesiras Nefesh. To give myself over to the Eibishter. Whatever the Eibishter wants. I don't care if it's this or that. I just want to do what the Eibishter wants. That's it. What the Eibishter wants, I want to immerse my nefesh to the Eibishter. Therefore, the way Rabbi Akiva saw it, Rabbi Akiva said, everything is Sinai. The bottom line of everything is Sinai. Klolim and Protim. Not only the foundation is Mesiras Nefesh, but the whole day is Mesiras Nefesh. And what do we see here in Rashi? The interesting thing in our Rashi is that Rashi doesn't involve himself in the Machloikes Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Akiva. He says that he brings his Arvas Moyev. We all agree about Arvas Moyev that the repetition of Arvas Moyev, that was only, whatever was said in Arvas Moyev was only a chazor, a repetition. But he doesn't involve himself in the Machlokes Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Akiva, because there's really, these are two ways in Avodas Hashem. You can't push away either one. There's the Avodas Hashem of Rabbi Shmuel, and there's the Avodas Hashem of Rabbi Akiva. The it is that as we're getting ready, counting for the Soimer, and now we're getting ready, Befrat, for the Simcha for Rishon Behar, the Talmud of Rabbi Akiva, that we should get into the Avodas Hashem of Rabbi Shmuel, Avodas Hashem of Rabbi Akiva, that we should have Klolus and Protas all from Har Sinai.